Anyone else find it weird that most trans content kind of just platforms the hate that we're meant to be against in the first place? Like, there's a lot of videos out there that'll have a thumbnail like you should be afraid or you should feel terrified, they're coming, that kind of deal. It's meant to make you angry, it's meant to rile you up so that you watch the whole video. But I feel like videos like these kind of miss the point of, you know, activism content or content meant to inform. Now, this channel you're watching right now is not an activism channel. I leave that to people that are far smarter in that area than me. But I want to talk about the general phenomenon of trans creators and just LGBT creators or left-leaning creators in general, weirdly platforming right-wing hate in their videos unintentionally, or if we view it kind of cynically, intentionally. Like, let's be real for a second. I don't have to be the one to tell you that the wizard book lady is bad. And oftentimes videos that go through the fact that she is bad don't add anything new and don't even have new tidbits or new things that she did. It's the stuff she did like a year ago or 2 years ago kind of deal. Sometimes trans people just want to go on YouTube and watch a happy video about transgender experience, but as you can imagine, any trans content or any content about trans experience is kind of lumped in the same algorithmic little pool, so to speak. So as a result, if you watched a happy video, you're going to be confronted with a really negative thumbnail that looks something like this. You should be terrified. They're coming. It's over for us. It just went down on Twitter. A somewhat relevant tidbit, I find a lot of these videos assume the viewer is American. I understand the situation in America is very turbulent, to say the least. But the world's a big place and a lot of countries are going through all sorts of stuff in relation to transgender rights. And I feel like most of these videos are pretty much exclusively from an American lens, which, you know, can kind of skew things a little bit. Ragebait like this isn't exclusive to the trans community. That's a pretty obvious thing, right? I'd say there's a very common like genre of video now. You know, the situation is crazy, that kind of thing. Someone sits at a desk, they have the webcam, and then they like maybe read an article and then they kind of waffle on for like 10 minutes. There can be value in content like that. If you like following the particular personality and you want to see their thoughts on something, that makes sense. I get why it's popular. But at a certain point, are we just kind of flashbanging ourselves willingly with hateful rhetoric? Let's take this as an example. Have you ever seen an Instagram reel, TikTok, or YouTube short where it says in gigantic text a hate comment that creator has received, and then while that hate comment is on top of them, they're dancing to a song happily because they're like, yeah, screw the haters. Understand that for content creators, by the nature of the job, you get hurled a lot of criticism from faceless accounts, right? Eventually you get kind of numb to it and it doesn't really bother you, but that's because of the context you're receiving that hateful rhetoric, right? So it's a bit easier for us in that respect. So yes, it is very easy for me to place like some kind of like bad transphobic statement on top of me and then dance and be like, yeah, I'm ignoring the haters. You know the irony in ignoring the haters, but platforming what they're saying about you to your fan base, to your, you know, predominantly transgender fan base that may not want to see this rhetoric. There's a way to deliver this information. There's a way to explain that you shouldn't take on what transphobes say about us at face value. And you see a way to not approach this, it's placing hateful rhetoric in giant red text for your audience to be flashbanged with when they want to see a funny cat video. It's actually very common for cis content creators to do a very similar thing about insecurities they may be facing. It's kind of, you know, where trans community probably got this format from. We're not exactly unique on this front, but you'll see plenty of really pretty cis models that do Instagram reels or TikToks or YouTube shorts. And it will kind of say like, oh, you look bad, or ooh, something bad thing about you. And then they'll, you know, sit in their pajamas and then be like, yeah. And then there'll be like a flash transition. And then suddenly they're in a gorgeous dress, perfect makeup. They twirl around and they look at the camera fiercely because they don't care about the haters. There's a way to nay on the haters without having to directly nay on the haters. and that's living a joyful life. If you don't give them fuel, they're gonna, you know, get bored and go to someone else, right? It's kind of basic avoiding cyberbullying 101, right? I understand there's a lot of channels that intentionally use hate comments for the content itself. I understand that's the explicit intention. Not my thing. I don't want anything to do with it. But I think we unintentionally paint a picture that, yeah, the haters do get to us, right? If a lot of the stuff we talk about publicly on the internet is in relation to what someone mean says, then yeah, they're gonna keep saying we're snowflakes or whatever, right? You can't win a debate against someone who doesn't think you should exist. Simply put, if you see a bench on a university campus of someone sitting there, there's a camera crew and a sign that says debate me about insert topic, you're not gonna win, right? Even if you, really articulately, explain your points rationally, that's not how you win those, unfortunately. It's kind of whoever's the loudest in the room. And if I'm in some hypothetical debate scenario and I'm surrounded by a bunch of trans people that already like me, I could say the most basic thing and everyone will pop off like I won. Debates aren't really about, a single strike. Ooh, I earned them. That's not really what debating's about. It's a bit more calm and not very good for content, unfortunately. But I do think it's kind of awkward where when you type transgender into like a search bar, you're probably going to see some pretty negative things. And for someone that maybe isn't sure if they're trans or not and wants to look up some information, it's not very calmly delivered information. It can feel like a very turbulent space as a result, especially nowadays in the English-speaking sphere. So, as a result, it can feel a little scary. There are channels that deliver really good information and really important information, but they're YouTube channels too, so they have to stay afloat too to, keep delivering that message. So, hence the thumbnails might be a bit ragebaity themselves, even though the video itself isn't ragebait, which can make it really complicated to find out what's good or not, right? If you're watching this video and you're terrified of the prospect of maybe being transgender because of this turbulent hate you see in these videos, just know that's not the everyday of every single trans person. Sure, I'll experience discrimination here and there, right? But plenty of trans people do kind of just live their lives, right? As you transition, you can find your people, find your circle, head on out there and do all sorts of things. When you have that community especially, it can be much safer to go do things when you're early on in the journey. And then as you get more comfortable being out there, sky's the limit, really. Point is, and I kind of repeat this point in a lot of videos, but understand the separation between how social media presents transness and real life. Yes, those things they're talking about are real. They impact us deeply. But understand that if you transition, you won't have to debate an alpha giga chad or whatever that has a Reddit bro podcast every time you walk to class at university. Being trans, there's lots of joyful moments. I remember moments of getting to wear girls' clothes for the first time, starting to use she, her pronouns to friends, going to the shops in those clothes for the first time, starting to change my voice little by little, trying hobbies, getting back into dancing, doing all sorts of things, but as myself. And you can do that if you want. Our mere existence is not defined by our haters. And you know one thing that's gonna really annoy the haters? A lot. You being happy. There is nothing more effective than living the most happy life possible. Acknowledging that there's moments of sadness, anger, depressions. That happens. That's life. But seek those happy moments. Seek those moments you feel joy. See if you have a local queer scene. Maybe you didn't know it was there. Maybe it's kind of small. But if more people go, it'll get bigger. And if there's a more visible queer scene, maybe the trans people after you will feel inspired. Maybe they'll feel that they can have an easier journey. I always say that we need to make the world better so that we can make the next generation of trans people have a way easier time than us. Because let's be real, I had a way easier time than trans people from decades past. And I hope that momentum continues, and I believe it can. So just remember, be yourself. If you want to transition and live as a girl or a guy or in the middle, do it, it's fine. You have my permission if you feel the need to have permission, but you don't need permission. And if you see some really angry ragebaity videos, maybe see if that same creator has some happy videos. Or maybe try to find those happy videos. The YouTube search bar is a beautiful thing, and you can be surprised what you find. Be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, comment something friendly, that sort of thing, and I'll see you next week. As always, stay hydrated and know that you are valid. I'll see you next week.